Normally, when I think that I'm going to have a very long ramble when I turn my camera on, I'd like a Mountain Dew, but today I'm feeling like I've got a bit too much caffeine in me already. And I'm going to a coffee shop at 6, so yeah. I've had a couple days where I've just had too much caffeine in me in a row. So, we all know what that feels like, right? You start to get like an upset stomach and like weird head wooziness and like you don't want to drink Mountain Dew, stuff like that. Those are my symptoms. Um, so what I want to say first off in this video is that I've had a really bad last 2 weeks, um, and that I've been dealing with mental illness in my family, and uh, it's been such a bad 2 weeks, really, um, that I feel like I need to restrain myself in this video um, with the things that I want to talk about. And I don't know that, like, within the next couple months that I won't be influenced by this horrible experience that I've just had. And some of you know what I'm talking about. And some of you were there that will be watching this video. And I just want to say that I'm going into this not wanting to call anyone crazy or a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, because I was just, for the last 2 weeks dealing with someone who fits all of that to a T. Way, way more than anyone that I'm going to have any discussion with online. you know. Um, and so when I see things that I guess would be considered like a conspiracy theory, I just want to tell you all, like, it's okay. I'm not like coming down on anyone. I'm just in this zone where everything that I see looks and fits like this pattern, and um, yeah. So also, I want to talk about friendship. Okay. Um, None of my friends are perfect. Not a one of them. And most of them don't agree with me on everything. You know? And to me, my best friends that I have in this world don't agree with me on even a lot of things. Um, but we do agree on friendship. And, like, for instance, if I were to call up my friends and say, I need help moving out of my house because something horrible happened and I need to find a new place tonight, how many of my friends would be at my door, with a truck ready to help me move, you know? Or, just ready to help me move all night and lose some sleep when they have to work the next day. How many friends would be willing to do that? Well, I have a few that would. I have enough that I feel rich in friendship. But I'm going to tell you guys that the friends that I have that are like that don't necessarily agree with me on other things in my life. Some of them are Christians, for one. Some of them are from opposing political parties. Got some Democrat friends, some Republican friends, some Libertarian friends. I've got some communist friends, like Green Party friends, you know, And which ones showed up, you know, what I'm trying to say here is you can have a friend that you disagree with, okay? My good friend Haas believes in the power of crystals to break up chemtrails. My friend Ryan, he also believes in chemtrails, has a video on his channel right now. And he doesn't so much ascribe to the whole orgone energy part of it, but he does believe that contrails are a conspiracy. My friend Dax, I've given him shout outs many times, and I think that he's got a lot of growing to do as far as his political stances. He's just very young and still exploring everything. Really needs some time to take it all in. Yeah. So, I've got a lot of friends that don't agree. I don't agree with them on everything. But, at the end of the day, I know that I can sit down and have a beer with these people, and put that part of our discussion aside, the disagreements. And I feel like recently I might have just lost a friend, and not because I am upset with anything she's done. I feel like she's no longer wanting to reciprocate this whole friendship idea of you can disagree and still be friends. I think she said as much in comments on my videos, in comments in other places, on Twitter, and I don't know. Maybe I should start, before disagreeing with people that I'm going to regret losing as friends later, perhaps we should, pinky swear. Okay, if we go here, we still get to enjoy each other's company, at a social. This particular friend that I'm going to be talking about for much of the rest of this video that I foresee right now, her name is Karen, and I filmed her when I first met her at the Freethinkers event, where she was talking about things like the Seven Mountains Mandate and basically religious conspiracies, as far as how they actually have a plan. The evangelicals have a plan to take over a whole bunch of things like media and business, and those Seven Mountains. Look it up, Seven Mountain Mandate, or Seven Mountains Mandate. Sorry. And it was a good presentation. It's on my channel. You can just look up her name and find it. I'll try to leave some links in the description box for some of the things I talk about. But I've seen her at other events. I've seen her at the We Are Women March twice, 2 different times. We've gone out to lunch once to talk about Ron Paul, who she very much despises, and she was in disagreement with me about him being better than Rick Santorum as far as the alternative in the Republican Party. And she came with a lot of evidence for that. And some of it was very enlightening to me. And I hope that I remember to put a link in the description box to... I'm just going to take the Word document that she gave to me and just let you guys check it out yourself, because her links there in just tearing apart a lot of the mystique of Ron Paul. I think that one was a very good, just whole bunch of information put together. But lately, I have done a few things where I disagreed with a couple of people in certain different groups. And I think Karen sees a pattern in me where there's people who are very divisive in a lot of groups, and yeah, I've become one of them. And I've had a really long think about, how I've called people divisive in the past, and I look at who I am right now. Like, in particular, there was this guy, his name was Mr. Clean for the longest time, and I have a couple things on my channel about Mr. Clean. And as far as his stance against Occupy, a lot of his energy and a lot of his reasons have rubbed off on me, I think. And when I look at how I was really wanting to be a part of that group, and then the group changed over time into something that I didn't want to be a part of, I am now kind of a critic of that movement, just as much as Mr. Clean was. Didn't really see eye to eye with him like or a year and a half ago. This would be like October, November 2011. But looking at where Occupy has gone after, in my city at least, after most of the sensible people have left supporting it, and it just continues to have its name tarnished. Oh, it's, with the people that were there at the time, some of those people that are still my friends now, I didn't feel that way. But now that it's, I guess, dwindled down to those who are just the most radical, I completely feel just like Mr. Clean felt about us a year and a half ago. And I know that I've become the critic. I set out to support something, and now I've become a critic of it. I see that. Yeah. Anyways, recently I made a video telling people in my local community, especially the fractivists, who I like what they're doing. I think we do need to stop and just put a moratorium on all of it and figure out what to do to keep our water clean, especially this year, where we just had snowfall last night, but before that it was measured and we're at like 30% of the average snowpack that we have every year. And we're about to have water restrictions in my city where people could only water their lawn like once a week. And if you get caught watering your lawn on the wrong day, you're going to get a ticket. And yet they're going to give millions of gallons of water to fracking companies. The average person uses what? 10 to 15,000 gallons a year. Every fracking well, is going to take like 5 million gallons. And each pad that they erect is going to have how many wells on it? You don't know. It varies per company. It can get as high as 18. I think they average like 5 or 6. But to have a fracking pad, within the city limits, that's what we're discussing here in Colorado Springs. And they're about to allow it. And these protesters are doing everything that they can to stop it. To have a fracking pad in the same city, where they're using millions of gallons, and then have someone who uses a couple thousand gallons, maybe 10, 15,000 gallons in the year, get a ticket for watering their lawn on the wrong day, that's fucking retarded. Okay? And that's not even talking about the health effects or a lot of different things that I just feel don't really speak to me as a person, because I feel like a lot of it is like scare tactics. Like, all politics it just all has to be flavored with scare tactics, People who go and visit fracking pads have to wear like gas masks because if they take a picture wearing a gas mask next to a fracking pad, then they're going to look so like it's so much worse and scary. People wearing gas masks to city council meetings, to make their point. Even though they should probably have something like, I don't know, a water testing unit where they're testing their water before they drink it, I guess. Because, yeah. Anyways. I disagree with a lot of the tactics that are used in many of the progressive movements in my city. I feel like they undermine the movement themselves, and I'm not alone in this feeling. And recently I made this video pointing out to the fractivists that in their midst there are protesters who have decades-long records of being arrested in order to try to get their movement exposure in the news, because I guess any kind of media is good media to them. But they do things that are so bad that they basically ruin the credibility of all of the protesters in their movement. I experienced this firsthand at Occupy, and I'm not the only person who feels this way. And I think this is key to me making my point. I in that video, and in the description where I put a link to the entire text of that Facebook thread that I made the video on, I name dropped so many people that if you walk up to them and ask them about the protesters that I was outing, they will tell you, yes, they are bad for movements, and they were bad for the movement that I was a part of, and I no longer want to be a part of any movement that involves them. Right? And you can say that that's divisive, right? That I am criticizing somebody in the movement and trying to divide them from the movement. But and I'm actually outside of the fractivist movement. I feel for them, for their cause, but have not been involved at all. I cannot say that I've lifted a finger to stop a fracking pad from being erected, right? I may soon go down to city council on one of the days where they're reading one of their laws and just take my 3 minutes just to point out something sensible, like, why are you going to fine someone for watering their lawn on the wrong day when you're giving a fracking pad millions upon millions of gallons? That's fucking retarded. Fucking retarded. But I haven't been a part of their movement, and from criticizing it from the from the outside, I didn't mean to criticize their movement. I just want them to excise what I consider toxic protesters, cancerous protesters that will just implode the movement and make everyone else look silly when they talk before city council. Okay? Doing retarded antics in front of city council and having a history of doing it for decades, to the point where they are well-known entities, and anything that they speak on, city council will not listen to. Okay? Even if it was impossible to remove them from all participation, listen to them in the planning phase. Don't put those people up there on the stage that they are making city council out to be. Don't put them out there as your spokesperson. They are, poison. This particular guy that my video focused on the most, he passed out a piece of paper at the Occupy movement. And I know that Jason Wharf would remember this, and so would Hossein Forzenda. And this piece of paper, it said that we have agent provocateurs in our midst. And if you don't know what an agent provocateur is, it's basically somebody who joins a movement to destroy it from within. And as soon as you have everyone looking at everyone else, every time they disagree with each other, they're like, you know what? You've joined this movement just to destroy us. You're probably working for the enemy. As soon as you have everyone, like, paranoid like that, that is what becomes the biggest divisive thing. Everyone being afraid of everyone else, as far as them being part of some conspiracy. And ironically, the person who probably fits, all of the signs of what I would consider to be an agent provocateur would be that person who was handing out those pieces of paper. And he's been doing it to every movement that he can weasel his way into. And I put a lot of effort into growing the local Occupy movement. I raised hundreds of dollars, that went into that movement by putting links on my YouTube videos, and now I feel really betrayed, really bad, really bad. And when I found out that we weren't the first, that was actually a pattern, I had to investigate this pattern. And that's why I had the rap sheet on these guys, okay? That's, just digging a little bit further, I found out that so many other people had previous experiences with this group that it's just terrible that nobody warned anyone that was about to happen. People got arrested, movement imploded from within. It's horrible. But when you've got this this atmosphere of everyone considering everyone else an agent provocateur, if you have the balls to call somebody else out for what they're doing wrong, then you immediately get suspected as being the agent provocateur. And that's just how it goes. Having lived through it and seen, a couple movements fall apart, I can tell you that for the most part, we're all just human beings and we don't need agent provocateurs. We've got ourselves. Anyways, last week I went to film a legal panel discussion on medical marijuana. You can look in the comments of that video, and I'm going to leave you a link to the events page for the Freethinkers. And Karen, my friend, disagrees with people supporting the marijuana legalization movement because she considers it to be a carrot that is being dangled in front of people in order to get them to maybe switch to being libertarian, and then from libertarian switch to being conservative. That's what I figure she's saying. It's like it's one of those things that the conservatives, I guess, really don't care enough about, so they're willing to give up on that in order to try to switch people over to their side, and they're using the Libertarian Party in order to trick Democrats into being libertarians, and then, like, brainwash them there a little bit, and then take them from the libertarians and mold them into conservatives. And she's got a lot of links with a lot of information, and I do want everyone, go ahead and check it out. Karen doesn't make videos, and so it's kind of a bully pulpit here. If she makes a video response to this on her own YouTube channel, which she has, I will mirror it, just like I've done to other people, including Mr. Clean, that have very little voice, and I'm addressing what they're saying directly. Yeah. But here's the thing. I am getting this feeling, and this is just the sniff test here, that the idea that the Koch brothers are behind everything, and they are they're basically like the puppet masters of the Tea Party, and that they are using marijuana in order to, like, lure people in. To me, it seems like a lot of conspiracy theories. Like truthers and 9/11 truthers, Benghazi tards, the people who think that Benghazi was an inside job, birthers, all of that. It's way, like, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and my main source of information like this would be Karen and former Representative Dennis Upwan, who he screened the movie Koch brothers Exposed in a whole bunch of libraries, like the theater section of the library. He signed up, like, each library around town, which was very, like, green-minded of him, because you could, like, look for the library that was closest to you and not have to commute all the way across town. I appreciated that. But so I've got those two sources who are personally telling me these things. But I don't think that the Koch brothers themselves have been able to get as much publicity pointing to their organizations, as much as people demonizing them have pointed people who would support them to them. Especially Americans for Prosperity. See, the Koch brothers, they had actually a history of, like, failed attempts at things. And it wasn't really until, like, people started treating them like Voldemort that they started getting more traction within the Tea Party. And this is my experience. Karen also sent me another movie, the Billionaires Tea Party. Check it out. It's on YouTube. I actually watched that as part of an Occupy thing where, like, in the beginning in my city, in October of 2011, there were a bunch of us who got together and were saying, don't be co-opted by anyone. Anyone. Don't declare allegiance to a political party or anything. And funny thing is, some of us don't, and some of the people who were saying don't declare allegiance to a political party went on to declare allegiance to a political party later, as soon as they had basically chased the rest of the people away by being so toxic. So, yeah. And I'm really talking a lot more about my own experiences than what Karen wrote down. But to say that marijuana legalization was the right-wing MMJ carrot funded by Tea Party backers and Dominionist Christians, especially Dominionist Christians. Hold on. I'm going to get some evidence myself. Hold on. Here we go. This here, I believe. Nope. Wrong one. Let me find the right one. This was just one beforehand. Okay, here we go. This is the election results report from the poll that I ran. I was a polling place coordinator, basically managing a whole bunch of election judges. Now, in the precincts that I ran, there were 3 of them. There are the precinct numbers, right? This is evidence against what Karen is saying, that this is something that Dominionist Christians are doing. I've got 3 precincts that together voted 522 for Romney and 104 for Obama, right? So that is 1 out of 6 voted for Obama and 5 out of 6 voted for Romney. So we're going to go down to the end of this ticker tape and go to Amendment 64, marijuana legalization. 234 in favor of marijuana legalization, 392 opposed. Right there. Okay? So, you see those numbers right there. And let me prove the other numbers right there. Okay? This printed right out of my ballot box. You know, the electronic ballot box. And there were only 20 on the the handicap assistance machine. So, and they look pretty much like this, but it really wouldn't make much of a difference in these numbers. What I'm trying to say here is, I don't see the correlation between Dominionist Christians, like the ones that live east of Monument, Colorado, where I was at Tri-Lakes Methodist Church, running a pole place in a church. I don't see the connection between those Dominionist Christians, who some of them live in that area because they like a shorter commute to their job at Focus on the Family. I don't see the link between Dominionist Christians and medical marijuana, or marijuana in general. Yeah. I mean, I see that you have evidence one way, but if we were to look at how well they're getting out their message, let's say, just to humor everyone here, let's say the Dominionist Christians at the top of the organizations were all behind closed doors smoking cigars, and they said, hey, you know what? We'll tell all of our members to start voting for legalization of marijuana, and we'll bring in new members to our organizations by saying that we're pro-marijuana. That's what we're going to do. If that was the plan, they failed because the Dominionist Christians apparently didn't get the memo. Okay? You can correlate people's voting as far as whether they voted for Obama and whether they voted for medical marijuana. Now, yes, medical marijuana, marijuana legalization with Amendment 64, across the board in just about every county in Colorado, marijuana was more popular than Barack Obama, and Barack Obama won the election here in Colorado. So there are people who are libertarian or conservative, one of the two, and that on that issue they sided with everyone else because they didn't vote for Obama, but they still voted for passing legal marijuana. But how big of an issue is that when, you know, it's basically a couple percentage points? The spread there, the spread there was like, it's not enough for me to believe in this like conspiracy theory that the Koch brothers are running the entire show. To me, it seems like the Koch brothers are running a show whereby they make themselves look like they're running the show, but the real deal is they're just trying to get donations for their cause, and they really don't have as much influence as they put out press to look like they have, and they also probably feed a lot of the fear-mongering that the people on the left are doing about them. You know, they want that because they want more donations from the people who actually believe in their causes. So they want to look like that they're spearheading the effort. But really, I don't see them as being that effectual. And I probably lost a lot of people when I said that I didn't believe that 9/11 was an inside job, or Benghazi was an inside job. There's some people who would be like, "Oh, what? You don't believe that?" And I lost at least two people over the being skeptical of chemtrails. But I'm just not convinced. Now, as far as the packet that Karen gave me that was all about Ron Paul, that's some damning evidence that she has there. Some of it just basically using his own words, but yeah, I'm very convinced. I'm very persuaded by evidence that somebody is a science denier. Now, that could be like climate science or evolution or a bunch of other things. But if they're denying science outright, and we've got the science to completely refute them, then to me that's more persuasive than some of these things that I just consider demonizing. And again, I don't mean to be insulting. I'm stating my opinion here that it looks like a conspiracy theory, and it looks like it's just demonizing the other side. I really do want people to check it out for themselves and say, Breitbart was featured on the front of the Huffington Post, so the Huffington Post is in on the conspiracy too. Maybe people will go that far. Yeah. I just drove to Denver and back this morning, taking that particular crazy family member to the airport. And so it's over now. Traumatized, but, it's over. And I was thinking about this on the way home, pretty much because this was like the last thing that I had on my cell phone with checking my email. It was like, what? And so I don't check anything else while I'm driving, so I thought about this for like an hour driving home, especially alone in the snow. I was just thinking about this stuff, and so Karen left some other comments on my stuff. Basically, Karen believes that I am one of these agent provocateurs. Maybe, I don't know. That's what I'm getting from what she's saying. And I put up a video that was a T-shirt. Just somebody had a T-shirt, and it said, "Cannabis cures cancer." Or, sorry, "Cannabis kills cancer." And then the next line on it was, "Google it." And so Karen's saying that I'm being dishonest by telling people that weed cures cancer. I'm saying there's evidence for it. They have just as much evidence for weed curing cancer as people have evidence that the Koch brothers are controlling the Tea Party and trying to take over all politics. As far as there being no peer-reviewed studies on humans that support this contention, when I got my degree and I was running studies, we had to go through an ethical review board, and if anything was illegal about what you were doing, you wouldn't get through the ethical review board to approve your study. So since it's just recently become legal and a few places are now able to study it and be able to have their things printed in a scientific journal where you might, I guess, appreciate the prestige of the journal, because there have been peer-reviewed studies. All right, Dr. Robert Malamede ran a few of them, and I've seen him testify in court about these things. There have been peer-reviewed studies, but you're probably going to then say, well, who were the peers and what journals were the studies printed in? And the goalpost will get moved. I understand that. Now, my own questions about cannabis and its effect on cancer, even though I've seen positive results as far as people using it as treatment. I've seen it myself by going to Bob Krause's house. Holy shit, Karen, would you like to go to Bob's house and talk to him about his evidence? I left his phone number actually in the comments on the video that she posted on. Yeah. There is a bit of evidence. Coke-funded shills don't count. I know, personally, Mark Slaw, who was running that event. I know most of the people of the CSMCC. I know Haas, I know Christie, I know Audrey. None of them are in the pocket of the Koch brothers. If they were, then the Koch brothers are extremely fucking cheap, because none of them have gotten a penny, They're not driving new cars. These are people who have dedicated everything in their lives to this, and to say that was Coke funded, holy shit! They held it at the warehouse, and it's the same banner that Mark's had for his CSMCC group for fucking ever. Nothing in that room is something that we couldn't get for fucking a chemtrail group to come in. If you've got enough money to pay for drinks for your guests, then you get the room. You just reserve it. Call up the warehouse right now and ask them how much it costs to reserve that room. The warehouse, downtown in the Springs, right next to the Drake power plant. That did not have any funding behind it. Like, you have no proof that they are funded by Coke. Okay? Please come forward with the evidence that says that Audrey Hatfield, Mark Slaw, Jason, the one in the wheelchair, Christy Wheeler for Pikes Peak Moms for Marijuana. Find me the paper trail with money that goes to their groups. You will not fucking find it. Especially with Haas and Christie. They would never, ever take money from anything without investigating the source. And they haven't gotten any money from anything anyway. Yeah. Coke funded shills. It's really easy to you might as well just call all of your the people that disagree with you, just call them Nazis. Because Nazi nowadays basically means person I disagree with. Associating them with the Koch brothers name doesn't work. What I'm doing is promoting quackery, the height of irresponsibility. That's what you're saying? When I put up a sign that was being held outside of Planned Parenthood, where the 40 Days for Life people were protesting, and that sign said, Planned Parenthood steals souls. Was I supporting that group or saying, hey, look into it? When I put up a video of a guy wearing a t-shirt saying ObamaNation is ObamaNation, was I supporting that? No. You can find that on my channel too. What I'm saying here is, here's some people with a t-shirt that say cannabis kills cancer, Google it, right? Then in the description, I actually gave another keyword. That keyword is apoptosis. And when you use that word, you actually find the peer-reviewed studies on cancer research with marijuana. Most of which are not in journals that are reputable right now. Because it would have been illegal to do the study. And, you know, you can... if I give a list of studies, like say put a link in the description box to the list of studies that Dr. Robert Malamud has done, some of those studies in more reputable journals of science, and then some of them not, because he couldn't get them printed in a different journal because they're not even going to touch it because it's illegal. What I'm saying is, if they make a claim in one of these studies, can you find a study that disproves the claim? Okay, peer review, right? You'd think that if there was this much quackery about it, that there'd be like a lot of research debunking it. Well, the research debunking it, I guess they wouldn't get approved either because, you know, ethical review boards. But I guess we're going to find out the answer, I guess, within the next 5 years. Now that it's legal. Karen also says in just one line in her next comment, she says, "Drop the progressive act, Michael. You're nothing of the sort." This is what I'm getting at with the whole agent provocateur thing, and it's I guess it's a horrible coincidence that my channel name is Agent of Doubt, and there's a concept called agent provocateurs. I could have gone my whole life without learning what an agent provocateur is. But anyways, what do you mean by progressive when you say that I am nothing of the sort? If I were to look at the definition of a progressive, would it be mostly liberal-leaning person? I would consider myself a progressive person in that respect. But if by progressive you mean somebody who agrees with Karen all of the time, no. Somebody who agrees with the Democratic Party all of the time, no. Somebody who agrees with every stance that would be considered liberal all of the time, no. I don't. So I don't even think that you, Karen, would always fall on the what would be considered the liberal side. In fact, here we are talking about marijuana legalization, and I would say that it's the liberals who got that passed. In fact, I've got proof right here that correlates people that voted for Romney instead of Obama, and you know how they voted for the legalization of cannabis. So I'm not progressive. Maybe there's parts of the platform of Karen that wouldn't fit progressiveness. Some of the more progressive people that I know were all supporting the legalization of marijuana. Let's say Becky Hale from the American Humanist Association, Gary Betchen from Evolve Fish actually used his own company to print out a whole bunch of legalization stickers and buttons and stuff, and gave them out free of charge. Let's see. Misha Lusov, who ran for Congressional District 5 for the Green Party, his girlfriend, fiance, Paulina, she's the president of Students for Sensible Drug Use at UCCS, and she was for the legalization of marijuana. How many people do I have to go through that are for it? Karen, you attended the We Are Women march, and one of the a whole bunch of the women running that were for marijuana legalization. I know for a fact Meg Fossinger and Christy Wheeler both are very pro marijuana in every aspect. So, like, to say that being pro marijuana or pro marijuana research and pro people looking into this issue is not progressive, I don't know. If we were going to go by just mob rule, democratic positions of people, and say that things that are progressive are the things that progressives support, then I would say Karen is not progressive in this respect, on just this issue. But perhaps there's some underlying principle that Karen is talking about in this instance where, like, 99% of Democrats, people that voted for Obama, 99% of them have been brainwashed by the Koch brothers into thinking that pot is good for them and that pot should be legal and pot should be a right that everyone should have. Maybe that's why I'm not progressive, is because 99% of Democrats that voted for the legalization of pot, they're not progressive either, because they've all been tricked on that one issue. And there's some principle that all of these Democrats and all of these Green Party people, they all were missing the boat on this because they were they had the wool pull over their eyes. I don't believe it. But as far as the progressive act, I've said the word progressive in this video now more than I've ever said it in my own videos. The last time I remember the word progressive coming up in one of my videos was actually Aaron Raw, who I filmed at the AAA convention, and he was addressing the Atheism Plus people. Progressive is not actually a word that I care to own. It probably describes me more than I care whether it does or not. It's not a word that I'm particularly attached to. Like, if you tell me that I'm not progressive, I really don't care. There are other words that I guess have more meaning to me, like freethinker and skeptic. If you were to tell me that I wasn't being, thinking freely or wasn't being skeptical about something, that I would probably be like shocked and go, no, where, and want to know what you're saying. But when you say that I'm not progressive, You know, if you say that I'm not a real Republican, I'm not a real Libertarian, I'm not a real Democrat, I'm not a real conservative or liberal, you know, those words to me, I'm just not married to, you know. They describe me more than I care whether they do, in different instances. And as far as like where I am progressively, I guess, I mean, I've taken the political compass test from politicalcompass.com and actually like took it and put the results on my YouTube channel, like answered every question to the test, and put the whole video up. And, you know, yeah. I will say this about weed curing cancer. This is something that I said in the comments to somebody else. I'm not entirely sure, you know, based on what I've seen, especially in the Bob Kraus case, that what is happening is actually apoptosis. This is the explanation that some doctors have ascribed to the effect of cannabidiol on cancer cells. I think they might have come up with an alternate form of chemotherapy, whereby they might actually be poisoning their bodies by refining cannabis to such an extent. And some people might think that that's like way out there because nobody's ever died from smoking pot. Well, look at the refining process for the Phoenix tears that Bob Kraus used to treat his cancer, and that shit is like, take a whole bunch of plants and boil it down into like a tube of like 10 ounces. That's some very strong shit. There's a lot of people who've bought into the mindset that weed is like the weakest of all drugs, and you know, it's not addictive and it's not harmful in any way. But you know, you can overdose on water. Okay, too much of any good thing can kill you. In fact, if you took an entire carton of cigarettes and boiled it down, you could probably collect the nicotine out of a carton of cigarettes and you know, lace one cigarette with that much nicotine, and you could kill a person. If they took all that nicotine in all at one time, it could kill them. So, I'm not exactly sure what the mechanism is, and I think that the methods that I've seen in just the case studies where people were using Phoenix tears to treat their own cancer, I think their methods could also have other explanations when you get the results. And one of them would be that they are actually poisoning themselves going this far. And that wouldn't be something new. I mean, when you look at homeopathic treatments, people will sometimes ascribe like way different reasons for things than what's actually going on. Well, going forward, I'm still like really feeling horrible about the experiences I just went through. And I do realize myself that I'd probably be better sticking to a couple of the movements that I'm far less likely to be critical of, you know, and not because those movements don't need criticism. It's more you attract more flies with honey. You're better off saying nothing if you can't say anything good at all, whatever. Because right now, like, if I'm not 100% with a movement and I have reasons why, I'm going to say the reasons. And there are people who, if you are going to say that you're with them, you need to be lockstep with them, you know, and not have differences. And I have differences with almost every movement, be it progressive or otherwise, that those are the things that I like to talk about when I am around people in those movements. Talk about why we disagree. You know, let's talk it out. So yeah, I'm going to leave a whole bunch of links in the description box. Check out Karen's stuff. Her stuff on Ron Paul was really good. I especially like seeing, you know, video evidence of the science denying. It's very persuasive in my opinion. The other stuff, check it out for yourself. See if I'm the one who's being not progressive in reality and I'm just acting progressive. If I'm nothing of the sort. I have a feeling like my closer friends would probably laugh that off, but given that I have the kind of YouTube channel where at least a fifth of the people subscribed to me are looking for something to pwn me on, then I think somebody might actually agree with Karen and maybe be able to restate what she's saying in a more persuasive way.